Good afternoon, Poet fans. Welcome to another Poet Sports Report here on the Whittier College Sports Network. I'm Lance Franny, joined by Thomas Harrison, and we have a big show for you today, talking about the fall sports. A lot of them have been wrapped up, and we're going to begin previewing what lies ahead for the winter sports, including men's and women's basketball and men's and women's swimming and diving. We're also going to have an up-close interview with John Tavius Timmons, one of the defensive backs on the men's football team, coming up here a little bit later in the show. But first things first, Thomas, we're going to talk about men's water polo. 4-game winning streak right now, 15-12 right now as a record. They have a big game coming up against Claremont Mudscripts this coming Wednesday at 4. But what have you liked from this squad so far?
There's a lot to like about this squad, and we've been high on them since the preseason, and they're scoring goals, they're doing it defensively, and they're just running through the conference. We talked about their tough out-of-conference matchups, their tournaments that got them prepared for this ongoing games of interconference play, and they're just running through the conference. 4-0 now. They play Claremont Mudscripts, who they beat last year in the finals for the SCIAC Championship. I look for them to go in with a chip on their shoulder. I look for them to, play the defending champs roles. Everyone's trying to knock them off, but I think they're the most talented team, and I think they're playing with the most togetherness and chemistry.
And right now, it's been real tight in these past few games. Double overtime victory over Redlands. They ended up playing tight here with Cal Lutheran University and Pomona-Pitzer on the road. So it's definitely has not been a blowout already here in SCIAC play. But again, they've got Claremont left. Chapman is good as well. And they also have Laverne on their schedule and Caltech. So again, it's going to be interesting to see. But again, they're favored to win the SCIAC Championship again this year. So we'll see what's going to be happening moving forward here in men's water polo. Now going into cross country. This past weekend, both men's and women's teams did very well in the mud and the rain. Horrible weather conditions Saturday morning. The men ended up running first. They messed up that field. The women came out and they were getting their shoes stuck in the mud. Shoes were coming off, according to head coach Greg Phillips. But again, we had 4 people end up making all SCIAC for the men's and women's cross country teams. A great feat for them. They're both going to regionals and hopefully get some individuals to go to nationals. But again, head coach Greg Phillips very happy with how the men's and women's teams did. Ended up coming away, beating Chapman and Cal Lutheran on the women's side. The men's side ended up finishing about 5th place in those standings. So, well-deserved with a couple of their best players out. But what do you think moving forward over to regionals? What do you think they're going to have to do?
Well, just get healthy. You mentioned the people missing from the team. And I really liked, unfamiliar terrain. It doesn't rain a lot here in Southern California, so unfamiliar terrain, running in mud, and people don't realize that kind of changes up your running style. And it wanes on you going down the stretch, so they did a good job at closing out, and I look for them to do good things in the regionals. For such a small squad, it's a huge accomplishment.
And definitely, the rain definitely helps the drought, which we're all happy about here on the Whittier College Sports Network. Definitely needed much needed rain at that. So now going into football. Tough loss, 40-3 against Redlands. Tough one there here at home. Struggling to put points up on the board. Second straight week, they almost were shut out. Shut out 24-0 to Pomona-Pitzer. Almost shut out by the Bulldogs and ended up getting a late field goal in that game. But what have been their struggles right now? What do they have to identify in order to pull off some victories here?
It all starts on the offensive side of the football. They didn't get their first down until midway through the second quarter. 2 first downs in the first half. Defensively, very sound, great tackling, and 40 points does not reflect how good the defense was that afternoon.
Sure.
Josh Pride, interception. He's a lockdown corner. He's taken away one side of the field. But again, the offense, and that's frustrating for the head coach. I know he's an offensive guy, and it's tough to see. The running game wasn't there. The passing game was nowhere to be found.
186 yards of total offense.
It was tough.
Yes.
3 interceptions by Brandon Pickens, 1 for TJ Jordan. There was just nothing there on the aerial attack, so the ground game wasn't working. Give a lot of credit to the Bulldog defense. Redlands, very good team in conference, so I look for them to rebound next week, but you got to get some things straightened out on offense.
And again, you've got Claremont Mudscripts coming up here on the road, and they just knocked off Cal Lutheran last week. So Claremont's coming in with a great squad, and that's still going to be a tough game. Not a walkover anymore with those Stags over there in CMS. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Hopefully Stephen Rivera will be back for the Poets. He was sick this past game and wasn't able to play. And we're hoping he'll be fully healthy as we have 2 games left on the schedule. We've got Chapman as our home finale for Senior Day coming up in a couple weeks. But right now we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Jontavius Timmons, one of our strong safeties, defensive backs here on our team, come join us here on the show as we talk about the season, how it's been going, and what lies ahead for the final 2 games of the season.
And we're back with the Poet Sports Report here on the WCSN Whittier College Sports Network. Joined with me is Jontavius Timmons, starting cornerback for the Whittier Poets. And Jontavius, I got to ask, 40-3, big blowout loss at home. How do you rebound going forward?
How we rebound, man, just a hard week of focus and practice, and just put it behind us. It's over with now. There's nothing we can do. Just practice hard, man, and just look forward to the next game, film, and go from there. So.
I've been pumping up this defense all season long. I think it's your strong point on your team.
True.
Is there a little kind of rivalry between the front 7 and the secondary? Do you guys get into it in practice?
It's like a little friendly deal. It's not like it's not like 2 separate teams and nothing like that. But you know, that's part of football, man. It's just going at it. That's how you get better as a team anyway. And unfortunately, you know, it's not where we want to be in the season, but we got a great group of coaches, man. They doing a nice recruiting job, man. So they gonna rebound. I mean, us seniors, when we leave, they'll be ready to step up next year anyway, like the coaches and the new players and stuff like that. So yeah, they're good on that.
So you have 2 wins on the season.
Yep.
You've doubled your win total from last season.
Yeah.
Predict how the season's going to go forward with your next remaining games.
Man, I mean, I think all the games we played thus far was winnable. So it can go either way, man. Either we can bow down, lose these next 2, which I know we're not going to bow down, or we can, like I said, we can continue to fight and win these next 2. And it's hard to say because, like I said, I only play one side of the ball. So I know what my group of dudes going to do. But as a team, as a whole, man, hopefully we all come together and, like, put one solid 4 quarters game together, and we'll see what the outcome is on that.
And I have to talk about your teammate, Josh Pride. He plays on the opposite side of you. He had an interception in the last game. He's been a lockdown corner. You have a little bit of a rivalry with him?
All right. So it's me, him, Taquan Ballard, and we got the youngster, Billy Thomas. We all go at it, man. So we know Josh I think he got 5 picks on the season right now. It's crazy. And that just happened, just started 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, we all try to be better than each other, man. And I feel like we got the best defense, but hands down the best secondary, in conference anyway. So it's nothing better than just to compete with your own teammates, man.
Hey, that's Jontavius Timmons. I'm Thomas Harrison. Thanks for joining us on the Whittier College Sports Network. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And we're back here on the Whittier College Sports Network following that interview with Jontavius Timmons from the football team. We're now going to move into men's soccer, women's soccer, and volleyball. Men's soccer, frustrating year, something head coach Shea Harwell really didn't want to see. First time in the past 6 years that they haven't made the SCIAC postseason tournament. The past 5 years they have, and they've had great programs, but this is the first time that we've really seen them struggle a little bit on both sides of the ball. Granted, they have some young talent on that team, but again, they graduated 10 seniors this past week. Their last game against Pomona Pitzer, they lost 3-2 in their season finale. But moving forward, what are they going to have to do here in the offseason and looking forward to next season in 2015 in order to get back to the SCIAC postseason tournament like they did last year when they were the number 2 overall seed?
Well, it's hard to put a finger on it, honestly. They had such high hopes, and they had so much talent and had so much experience, and you mentioned the last postseason, good showing from there, and they just completely, the wheels came off this season, and it's tough to pinpoint it exactly. They have to regroup, they have to do a better job maybe working in the off season, but it's such a talented team and so much depth, it's tough to figure out why the season ended up the way it did.
They had so much talent.
Yeah, and you mentioned they shuffled the lineup here and there. They did all they can. The goals weren't coming in. The defensive back line surrendered a lot more goals. The midfield didn't play as expected. So really tough to pinpoint an exact problem, but I think a tough offseason and a regrouping needs to happen.
And a good recruiting class as well coming in for head coach Shea Harwell. We're really going to expect some big roles to be filled because most of those 10 guys were starters for his unit. And we'll have to see what's going to happen. They have spring ball coming up here in the springtime, and then we've got the summer as well. So hopefully a good group of guys will be able to come in for him. But then moving on to women's soccer side. Started the season off with a victory against Benedictine. Ended up losing the rest of the games the rest of the season. Tight games they played, not really too many blowouts there, but ended up losing. Story of two halves. 1-0 loss here, 2-1 loss here. Struggled to put points up on the board. But, of course, the thing we go back to is they lost Madison Shipperd early in the season. They lost Lauren Kai early in the season. You know, a couple girls. They lost Ashley Stanford in the first game of the season as well with a broken leg. So they lost 3 offensive players right there in the first 3-4 games of the season, and they just haven't been able to regroup from there because that's 3 offensive players, and those are who you look forward to get those points on the board. And I think that season would have been completely different if those 3 were still around. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more, and this, you know, what's been plaguing them all season is putting points on the board, and it's tough to win when you don't put points on the board.
Exactly.
So they lose 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. I mean, the defense has been there. They've done all they can, but as you mentioned, the injuries just plagued them this season. But I look for them to rebound next season, get a little bit healthier, a little bit more experience now for the backups who've been playing most of the season. I look for them to have a good 2015.
And I felt bad for head coach Monica Gerardo this season to have that talent just taken away at the early parts of the season. And she's such a great coach, and you know I speak highly of her and the coaching style that she has. But next year she returns Madison Shipperd, you know, all-sky performer. She returns Ashley Stanford. She returns freshman Lauren Kai. So she returns those 3 star players back. And talking with her, she has a great recruiting class coming in as well. So a lot to look forward to for the 2015 season for women's soccer. I know I am. I know you are. But here on the Weird College Sports Network, hopefully, you know, things will turn around, and I'm sure they will. Now moving into volleyball. Last sport here for the fall season. Did not make the Sky postseason tournament. You know, tough for head coach Chris Duarte McDermott. A lot of young talent, graduated 2 seniors this year, which is great. But again, finished about 5th, 6th in the Sky standings, just narrowly missing out on the postseason tournament. But again, those top 4 teams are some of the top 4 teams in the country right there. Cal Lutheran, Claremont Munscripts, Laverne, Pomona Pitzer. Those are very good programs. But again, what can we take away from this season for him?
Well, it's a Jekyll and Hyde season of sorts. They never got blown out, and you mentioned these good teams they're playing. They were close in every single one. You know, they take the first set and then surrender the next 2, and they just need to learn how to close out and finish games. So important, especially for a young team. So in 2015, you mentioned it, only losing 2 seniors, a lot of experience, a lot of talent on that side of the ball. So I look for them to rebound nicely in 2015.
Yeah, I am too. I'm really excited for what he has brewing for volleyball. A lot of young talent coming back. That whole front line returns. You got Casey Loudon, Rebecca Slattery, Alexis Mills, Haley White. 4 big, tall girls in the front line. You also have the back line returning. You have Tori Mitsunaga returning the setter. So I'm really looking forward to a great year here in 2015 for volleyball. So now that we're done with the fall sports, we move into the winter season, men's and women's basketball, men's and women's swimming and diving. We've already had a scrimmage take place for women's basketball. This week, we have a men's basketball scrimmage here on Wednesday. Then we have an exhibition game here for the women's team on Thursday night, which a lot of people are looking forward to attending to watch the women's basketball team in action. The men's team is going to have an exhibition this coming Saturday against Cal State Bakersfield for a tune-up for the season. So a lot to look forward to with both of these teams, and I've been able to watch them a little bit here and there. I know you're a basketball fan, guru, I should say, Thomas. But what are you looking forward to the most here in the winter?
Well, I'm looking forward for the Poet offense in basketball. They kind of run the Mark D'Antonio, old school Phoenix Suns, not the Lakers, of course, but the Phoenix Suns style offense, fast paced, up and down the court, a lot of sprinting back and forth, high paced, high action game. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, a new group of people on the swimming side as well. So I think it's going to be a great winter season, and I'm really looking forward to broadcasting it all.
And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to turn things around. The fall really hasn't gone the way we expected, and I'm hoping men's water polo can wrap this thing up, get a Sky Championship title, and then move into the winter time. Women's basketball, they won 2 games last year, both over Caltech. So they have to be moving forward. Head coach Elizabeth Stanley did a fantastic job recruiting this coming season. She brought in a plethora of players. 26 players came out for tryouts. They ended up keeping about 18, I would say. And I feel they have some very talented individuals on that team. So I'm looking forward to women's basketball. The men's side, a lot of new players, high up-tempo offense, averaging about 90 points a game last season. And that's what head coach Rock Carter does every single season, is run that up-tempo style offense. They're losing out on some bigs inside, but we're hoping for a couple of those new players to come in and make an immediate impact. But right now, they just need to work on working together as a unit. Same thing with swim and dive. Right now, they've had 1 meet, but again, a lot of the players or swimmers on the men's side, they're on the men's water polo team. So again, they haven't done very well because those numbers are low, but we're hoping for them to get make some adjustments here. Tasman Backer's been helping to coach the swim team, but Justin Pudwell, once he's done with water polo, will be able to put a lot of attention into the swim, and I'm sure they'll be able to make a big impact here in the SCIAC standings. So that's going to do it here for us on the Poet Sports Report. I'm Lance Franey, joined by Thomas Harrison. Please tune in next time as we delve deeper into the winter sports and wrap up men's water polo and football from the fall.